I have this thought, being here in Germany, I see all these Ukrainians who've come here, and I'm sure you've dealt with it in Canada, Ukrainians who've immigrated because of the war, and so they're refugees essentially. Maybe you have some thoughts, but the longer that they stay outside of Ukraine, and we're talking about millions of people and millions of families who are separated, the less percentage of them are ever going to return as they build new lives in these countries, which they originally may thought they were just going to go for a couple months or a year or whatever. But the longer they stay, the less of them are going to return. And this is Ukraine's future to
Yeah.
a large degree.
To comment on that, I've written for Forbes on that subject. If Ukraine were to lose the war and Putin take over Ukraine, the projections are that as many as 20 million people would leave Ukraine. 20 million people. Like we had uh, when the war broke out 2 years ago, the invasion, not the 10-year war, but the invasion. Uh, 6 million people since then have exited Ukraine and come westward. Some of them went back, perhaps, I don't know how many, maybe a million, maybe more. But there's, several million have relocated to Western Europe. 300,000 came to Canada. I think there's about almost 300,000 in the United States as well that came to the United States, which is peanuts compared to how many exited Ukraine at the time. But imagine, and we're overloaded with these people everywhere. Like I spent 3 hours yesterday in a meeting with Ukrainian refugees in Toronto, talking about what are possibilities for them to get permanent residence in Canada. And it's not that easy. It's not a piece of cake. It's going to be hard for them to get the permanent residence. The same is true. I'm going to be in a meeting in a day or two where they're going to be talking about the United States and what can be done in the US. Same story. It's going to be hard for them. These are the ones that are here right now. So consider if indeed Ukraine should lose the war. I don't know how many million, but up to 20 million people flood Western Europe. Like that's going to really be a burden and hard to deal with. And that's just the refugee humanitarian aspect of what's coming down the pike. Never mind that Russia would absorb the Ukrainian military capability into the Red Army and send Ukrainian soldiers out westward to face NATO. Now, you could say, well, that's not going to happen there. Putin's not interested in facing NATO, but his conduct, judging by his conduct, I think we're going to see if Ukraine goes down, Moldova, the Baltic states, Poland. I can't imagine him not doing it, and he has to do it because he and his clan, that those oligarchs, have stolen everything there is to steal in Russia, pretty much, and they have to justify their existence in some way, and the only way to justify it is to have a war.
Mm.
Now, maybe that's crazy. I don't know. Maybe that's an analysis that doesn't make sense. But to me, I think this is Bill Browder talking. That's
Yeah.
his. I think that makes sense. I think that's where we are right now.